Hello everyone, this is S. Sunny, your biology teacher. In previous class, we already have discussed about biodiversity, that what is biodiversity. In today class, we will start our discussion with biodiversity hotspot. Right, biodiversity hotspot. So biodiversity hotspot means a place where we are having more biodiversity. That place known as biodiversity hotspot. Simply, biodiversity hotspot. Now the question is that how we can say that this place having more biodiversity? What are the criteria? Is there any particular number on which ways we can say that biodiversity this place can be called as a biodiversity hotspot? So now what are the conditions to declared as a place as a biodiversity hotspot? So the condition number 1, at this place we count endemic plant species only. Endemic plant species. Now what the mean of endemic? Endemic species means a species which is only found at a particular area. At other place that species will not be found. Means some species are only found at a particular area, so that species is known as endemic species simply. So to declare a area as a biodiversity hotspot, there should be more endemic plant species, right? In this area, we never count number of different types of animals, We only count number of endemic species in plants. Now the question is that why we are not counting animals and why we are counting only the endemic species. So why we are not counting the animals? The reason is that animals are the movable species. Suppose like if this is an area in any one country, so that country want that area should be declared as a biodiversity hotspot. That may be possible that peoples of that country transfer different types of animals in that area. That may be possible that they collect all the different types of animals and transfer at a particular area, and now they call to the peoples for the survey that declare this place as a biodiversity hotspot. Right? It also be possible. So that's why we never count animals, because animals are the movable species. These species can be moved from one place to another place. So that may be possible we are collecting the different types of animals from other areas and transferring it this particular place, so that a survey person can declare that area as a biodiversity hotspot. That's why we are never counting animals. Now the second question, why we are not counting normal species? Why we are only saying about the endemic species? Because a area will be precious. A area will be precious if that area having some special types of plants which never found at other areas, right? So in this situation that area will be very precious. अगर किसी एरिया पर ऐसे प्लांट्स हैं जो कहीं और हैं ही नहीं, so definitely we need to conserve these kind of plants. This will be our responsibility, right? So to declare a area as a biodiversity hotspot is not a very small thing. There are a lot of criteria, and after declaration of any place as a biodiversity hotspot, we have to take a lot of security measures in that area, right? That no any other kind of damage can be possible in that area, because now it is biodiversity hotspot, and now we need to conserve that area so that any kind of harm cannot be held in that area, right? So this is the purpose basically, to declare as a area as a biodiversity hotspot, so that we can protect these endemic plants in that area, right? To protect the different types of animals we are having other areas, right? And one more thing, if a place we are declaring as a biodiversity hotspot, definitely we are no doubt we are counting the plants only. But if a place where we are having the plants in bulk amount in endemic species also, so definitely the animals will be there normally. Animals also will be there, so they automatically will get the protection, Okay, so number one thing, we only count endemic plant. Now I think now you got the conditions why we are only counting the animal. Second thing, the boundary area also should be the less. Boundary also should be less. Now what the mean of this point? Suppose like if this is the overview, this is the boundary of any area where we want to say that this is a biodiversity hotspot and we want to declare it. And any other place, the face is just like this. Like this. This is another place. And if you will look the boundary of this, suppose like this is A place and this is B place. And suppose if you will look the boundary in this B place, the boundary area as compared to the inner surface area is very less. So boundary is very high, inner covering area is very less. So अंदर की तरफ एरिया बहुत कम है और बाउंड्री एरिया बहुत ज़्यादा है. And after looking this type of structure, we clearly getting idea that suppose here will be some endemic species, here will be some endemic species. So we can say endemic species are forcefully included. That's why this kind of structure develop in this B structure. अगर स्ट्रक्चर इस टाइप से बिखरा हुआ है, इसका मतलब ये है कि यहाँ पर इस कॉर्नर पर कोई एंडेमिक स्पीसीज थी जिसको हमने ज़बरदस्ती फोर्सली इंक्लूड किया है. एंड दिस प्लेस ऑल्सो हैविंग सम एंडेमिक स्पीसीज. दैट्स व्हाई वी हैव डेवलप्ड दिस काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रक्चर. It means forcefully we want to declare this area as a biodiversity hotspot. That's why that boundary have developed to increase the number of endemic plants. So in this situation, we can't declare this area, this B area as a biodiversity hotspot because we are forcefully including endemic species by changing the outer boundary. Here, this area easily can be declared as a biodiversity hotspot if it is having enough number of endemic plants because it is looking like a natural boundaries. But here it is looking some abnormal boundaries. It means suppose like in this area here, in this area we are getting some endemic species. That may be possible some endemic species are here, suppose like here. So that person also can make this kind of boundary. So number of endemic species will declare. So like that we are having the clue that this B area have developed artificially to declare that area as a endemic species. I think now you are getting the conditions, that what conditions are required to give area as a biodiversity hotspot. Right. So in biodiversity we are mainly discussing different types of plants and animals. Now when we are talking about different types of plants and animals, suppose like if we found any unidentified plant, suppose like if we have discovered a different plant and a new species of animals, then there is a branch of science which deals with the new types of plant and animals, and how in this branch basically we will study that how we can identify a organism, how we can classify a organism, and how we can provide a name of organism. That branch of science known as taxonomy. So taxonomy is a branch of science in which basically we study that how we can identify a organism, how we can classify a organism, and how we can provide a scientific name to a organism. Right. So this is the taxonomy. Carolus Linnaeus was the father of taxonomy. Right. So Carolus Linnaeus was the father of taxonomy. Carolus Linnaeus also wrote a book that known as Systema Naturae. So Systema Naturae is a book which is written by Carolus Linnaeus. In short, it is also called as only Linnaeus. But what's the full name? Carolus Linnaeus. So Carolus Linnaeus write the Systema Naturae. The old name of Carolus Linnaeus was Carl von Linnaeus. Right. Do you know why Carl von changed their name and into as a Carolus Linnaeus? Because Carl von Linné provided a specific types of naming nomenclature that known as binomial nomenclature. And according to binomial nomenclature, every living organ should have a unique name. And that name is known as international name, also known as scientific name, right, also known as biological name. So scientific naming system was given by Carolus Linnaeus, and that naming system also known as binomial nomenclature. Binomial. Now we will discuss about the basic processes of taxonomy. Right. In taxonomy, the first step is characterization. Means if we are getting any animal, then first of all we will look all the characters of that animal or plant. And after observing clearly the character of animal or plant, now we try to identify that organism, that in which place we can categorize and we can put it. So we will try to identify that organism, and after trying to identify, then we classify that organism, that in which kingdom we need to put, what will be the phylum, what will be the class, what will be the order of this organism. So then we classify that organism, and after the classification, at last, if we are having this new organism, then we try to give the name. We have to provide a unique international name to that organism, and that process known as nomenclature. So number first, characterization, means we will observe the character. Second, identification, we try to identify that organism. Third one, classification, we will classify that organism, which the category we are already having. In this presently available categories, we are trying to classify that organism, and at last we will provide scientific name to that organism. Right. So these are the basic steps in taxonomy. Now we will discuss one by one about each and everything. First of all, we start from the characterization. So what the meaning of characterization? As I already have told you, understand the characters of organisms, such as the external character and the internal structures. Observance of external character known as morphology. So morphology is a branch in which we only observe the external character. And if we are talking internal structure, cells structure, development, then it is known as anatomy. So anatomy is a branch of science in which we look about the internal character of the organism, and morphology is a branch of science in which we only observe the external character, means the height of plant, color of plant, shape of fruit, all the parts of morphology of plant. And if I am saying the types of cells, inner composition of plants, so then it will be the anatomy of plant. So totally we are observing all the characters, then it will be the characterization. Right. Second, identification. In the identification process, we mainly collect the information and try to identify that organism which we are having now, so that we can easily provide name to that organism. Right. So already we have discovered many plants and animals, so on which ways we will try to classify, we will try to identify that plant. Right. Third one, classification. Classification means arrange a organism into the given orders or the given groups. Right. As the name giving information, classification. Classification means in different classes, in different categories, we are going to classify organs. Right. About the classification, we will study in detail in chapter number 2. The name of that chapter is biological classification. In detail we will discuss about classification in chapter 2nd, but here only need to understand that we are having many categories. Suppose like in first category we are having 2 options. In this first category we are having now 3 options. In this third category we are having 2 options. Now suppose like the name of first category is phylum, then the name of second step category is for example class, then order, and then genus. Suppose like these are the steps. So if we are getting any organism, then first of all we try to identify that in which phylum it will fit. Suppose like all the characters of this phylum are matching with this organism, then we are moving in this. Then after taking organism into this phylum, now we will try to classify this in further categories. Now means now it will match it is matching with this or this. Suppose like it is matching with first, then after first we will go with the further. So category wise we are classifying, we are finding the position of any organism, then it is called classification. Okay, so it is a grouping of organisms into convenient categories which we already have developed, and these categories typically and biologically known as taxa. Right, so classification means we are classifying organisms into appropriate category which we are already having. And at last, after giving classification, at last we provide the name to that organism, and this process known as nomenclature. So nomenclature is a process by which we provide a name to the organism, but that name should be unique, which should not be changed from place to place or from country to country. A name which is never changed from place to place, country to country, known as international name. International name. It is also known as biological name. Now nowadays we have classified biological name into 2 categories. If we are giving name to the plant, then botanical name. If we are giving plant to the animals, then zoological name. Right? So it is not a thing of confusion. If we are providing scientific name to the plants, then botanical name. If we are providing scientific name to the animals, then it will be known as zoological name. There are some criteria, some conditions on which we can provide the name, right? So first of all, this international naming system, as I already have told you, was given by Carolus Linnaeus. So this is a short name of Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus given a special types of naming system, that naming system known as binomial nomenclature. The system of naming with 2 component was given by Carolus Linnaeus, and this system known as binomial nomenclature. As the word saying binomial, bi means 2 and nomial means name, 2 name system, right? So 2 name system was given by Carolus Linnaeus, right? And the old name of Carolus Linnaeus was Carl von Linné. Carl von Linné. And in the name of Carolus Linnaeus, we are having already 3 words. Initially, the name of this scientist was Carl von Linné. So now the name of at the time the name was Carl von Linné, and he was suggesting a naming binomial nomenclature. किसी साइंटिस्ट का नाम खुद 3 वर्ड से मिलकर के बना है, कार्ल वॉन लिने, एंड दिस साइंटिस्ट गिविंग इंटरनेशनल नेमिंग सिस्टम, एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस नेमिंग सिस्टम एवरी इंटरनेशनल नेम हैव 2 वर्ड्स. मीन्स इनके हिसाब से हर और लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म का जो स्पेसिफिक नाम होगा वो 2 वर्ड से मिलकर के बना होगा, और इनके नाम में खुद के 3 वर्ड थे. दैट्स वाई ही चेंज देयर नेम, ही चेंज हिज नेम फ्रॉम कार्ल वॉन लिने टू द कैरोलस लिनियस, so that no one can put finger, no one can give excuse to them that you are already having 3 words in your name, and you are saying that every living organism have 2 words. That's why he changed his name from Carolus Linnaeus to the Carl von Linné. Right? So what was that system? What are the criteria? So present day, listen, if we are giving any botanical name, So present day, if we are giving any botanical name to the plant, then it is given by International Code for Botany and Nomenclature, and this organization also known as ICBN, International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. Like basically they are providing some protocols that how we can give a name to the plant. And same like that, for giving name to the animals, we are having another protocols which were given by Zoological Code for International Code for Zoological Nomenclature, ICZN. So International Code for Botanical Nomenclature provide protocols to the plant naming, and International Code for Zoological Nomenclature provide protocols to provide a name to the animals. Right. So for sample, suppose like this is a here it is a scientific name of mango, Magnifera indica, right? And here it is a name of tiger, Panthera tigeris. Do you know the scientific name of human? It is Homo sapiens. Like, so these are the rules to provide a name. So universal rules of binomial nomenclature. So what are these rules? Number one, the scientific name should be in Latin language. And if we are writing these names by computer, then it should be italic. So number one, this the name, international name, always should be taken from the Latin word, or it may be the Latinized. Second thing, the scientific name should be written in italic if you are writing these names into the computer. But if you are writing the scientific name by your hand in handwritten mode, then it should be the underlined separately. Separately underlined means, suppose like I have written this name, then Magnifera should be underlined separately and Indica should be underlined separately. But if I am writing the same word into the computer, then it should be italic, means in cursive writing. Right, it is slightly in cursive writing, Magnifera indica. So number one thing. Second thing, as the name saying binomial means two name. So the scientific name have mainly two words. First word known as genus and second word known as species. Right? Next, the first letter of genus. First letter of the genus should be capital and all letter of the species should be small. So genus name start with one capital letter and species name with all the small letters. Means, as you can see here, the Magnifera start with capital M and Indica have all the small letters. And after giving these two names, we also can provide the name of scientists who discovered that species in a short form, which is known as author's name. But it is not compulsory. Every time you need not to write that author's name. So author's name appears at the last, which discovered that species. But most of time we need not to write it. We only need to write genus and species. Right. So these are the basic rules to provide a scientific name to living organism. First of all, the words should be from the Latin language. Second, if we are writing these names by hand, then should be separately underlined, and if we are writing into the computer, then should be in italic language. Italic means cursive. And the next point, the biological name have two words, first known as genus and second known as species. The first letter of the genus should be capital and all the letters of the species would be the small. And if you want to write the name of author, then it should be in short form. It should be in short. Right, as you can see here, like this. So these are the basic protocols to provide a name to any living organism. Right. Now we will discuss about the taxonomic categories. If we are going to classify any living organism, then these are the categories. Basically these are the steps. And what the mean of category, what the mean of steps? Suppose like just take an example of your school. In school we are having many classes, class 1 to class 12. In class 1 we are having very fresher students, means some students those are coming first time into the school, but nowadays it is NC. Suppose like it is a nursery class, I am starting from the nursery now. So in nursery class we only admit the student those are coming very first time to the school. And in 12th class the senior most student, those are physically and mentally, mainly the mentally are strong. Okay, so on the basis of their mental dissociation, mental presence, we are classifying or. So in a school, first we are having NC and the topmost class is 12th. Suppose like in 12th we are also having two branches, science and commerce. Another branch also we have a art side. Suppose in science we are having further two branches, math and bio. And suppose in a class of bio we are having more students, that's why we have two sections, section A and section B. So basically these are the steps. So just like that, this is the class, then the stream, then we are having math bio options, and at last we are having some section. So basically we are having these types of categories. So this is the example of, this is only the example. In the living world we are also having these kind of categories. Number one, the kingdom. Kingdom is the largest category. The kingdom further divided into different phylums in the case of animals, but if we are dividing plants, then at the place of phylum we are having division. Right? Different divisions are now, one division have now different classes and one class have different orders. So if you will look this diagram, so just you can say the first uppermost is kingdom. So inside the kingdom we are having these different kind of animals and plant groups. Suppose like if I am taking one and expanding this one as leg, so this is the kingdom. Second one will be the kingdom have very smaller phylums, and inside the phylum we are also looking some a group, and these groups are now the class, and inside a single class we are also looking different types of group, and basically these are the orders. And a single order we are also looking different groups, and now these are the families, and in a single family we are having many different groups. These are the genus, and inside a genus we are having many species. But remember, species is the lowest category. As you can see here, in species we are not getting these kind of groups, because species is a last smallest taxa. As you can see into the class, section is the last category. In a section we are having all the organisms, but out of the section, सेक्शन के बाद आगे सेक्शन को आगे हमने किसी चीज़ में डिवाइड नहीं किया. सेक्शन इज द लोएस्ट कैटेगरी इन टू द स्कूल. जस्ट लाइक दैट हियर वी आर हैविंग स्पीसीज एज द लोएस्ट कैटेगरी. राइट. So what the mean of classification? Classification involve the hierarchy of steps in which each step represent a taxonomic category. Means in classification we are having hierarchy. What the mean of hierarchy? Hierarchy means systematic arrangement. Hierarchy means arrangement. Systematic arrangement. Right. So systematic arrangement into different steps, and these steps known as taxonomic categories, and a single known as taxa. So basically these are the taxa: kingdom taxa, phylum taxa, class taxa. Okay, so सबसे biggest taxa, kingdom. Smallest taxa, species. So basically these are the labels, and these labels known as taxa, and each taxa have a particular name. For example, the largest taxa, kingdom, and smallest taxa, species. Nowadays we also can divide species, but this is the point of higher classes. Only need to note that species are the smallest taxa. If it will came into your board examination or in competition, you only need to write species. Right. The next point, all the categories togetherly constitute a taxonomic hierarchy. Means if I will arrange all the taxonomic categories, so these taxonomic categories make a hierarchy, and this hierarchy known as taxonomic hierarchy. If you look the kingdom is the largest taxa. So in this taxa we are having most diversity, most difference, right, and here less difference. Suppose like we are having 10 organisms of this species category. If the 10 organisms are in same species, means they are having very less difference. But if I am taking 10 organisms from this category from one kingdom, so that may be possible they are having lot of differences. Right. So this is the hierarchy of classification. Now we will understand it with one more example. Here these are the taxonomic category, and this is one example. Here we are taking example of human. Now the picture will be clear in your mind. Suppose like we are classifying the human. So number 1, first category, largest category, kingdom. And what is the kingdom in the case of human? Animalia. Means human came into the Animalia kingdom. Now if we will go with the phylum, then what is the phylum of human? Chordata. What is the class of human? Mammalia. Why it is Chordata? Can you tell me why it is, how we can say that human came into the Animalia? Means all the members of Animalia never have cell wall in their cells. So basically if the cell wall absent, if cell wall absent into the cells, then that organism is known as animals will be in Animalia kingdom. Right. Second one, humans are in Chordata kingdom, Chordata phylum. Why humans are in Chordata phylum? Any organism which is having notochord, any organism which is having notochord will be in this Chordata phylum. Third one, the class. Humans are in mammalian class because humans have mammary glands. Right. So just like that, the order of human is Primata, phylum is Hominidae, genus Homo, and species Sapiens. So this is the classification of human. I think now you are clear with this taxonomic categories, that which is the largest and which is the smallest category. Now we are having some more examples. The common name, the genus, generic name, and the species. For example, mango is the common name, and what the scientific name? Magnifera indica. First word will be the genus and second word will be the species. In the case of potato, the scientific name is Solanum tuberosum. So Solanum is the genus and tuberosum is the species. Right. So these are the examples of different plant and species, more common plant and species. You need not to remember all the scientific name of all plant and animal, and you also can't do it, but only need to remember the scientific names which is given in your NCERT. Right? Board and competitive exams never will ask the names of different plant and animals. Those are not given in your NCERT. Exams only will ask the names of plant and animals. Those are given in your NCERT. So need not to focus in on all. Only need to remember the plant and animals which is in your NCERT. Right? So don't worry about all the names. Only go with the NCERT and your textbooks. Those are the some names which is available in your books. You need to go with them only. Right? So now today we will finish our session here.